So guys, let's look at all the data types in Python today. We are just going to look at the basic ones, not the advanced ones. So there are 5 main groups of data types in Python. That's text type, numeric type, sequence types, mapping type, and Boolean type. Now let's start with the text type. There's just one, that is str or string. Anything that's given in double quotes is a string. Double quotes or single quotes. This is a string. And you print it, it will just print it as such. That's all. So it just prints what is asked for you there. I'll show you how it looks like. As you can see, it prints the text as such. Now I'll go to the numeric type. Now let's look at the second one, that is int. So for int stands for integer. So any number, all numbers without a decimal part is an integer. So w equals to 3, print w, you get 3. Now if you have a number like 3.0, this does not come under int. This is a float number, as you can see the second one. Since you have something after the decimal, it's a float number. But if you don't have a decimal part, then it's an integer. Now if you want to convert this to an integer, you just need to put it in brackets and say int. Now this will convert 3.0 to its non-decimal equivalent. As you can see, it's a 3. So that's all for int and float. Now coming to complex. Uh, as you know, there are in math you have something called complex numbers, in which I stands for an imaginary number. In Python, instead of I, you use the character j. So for instance, 4j. Now I'm just gonna check for its type. So I'm gonna click on print type w. As you can see, it says it's complex. So anything with an imaginary equivalent is called an complex data type. So that's all for text type and numeric types. Now let's start with sequence types. So now let's get started with list. List is a data type which consists of other data types. It consists of a series of other data types. For instance, now lists are contained in square brackets. Now it can consist of a series of letters, numbers, or any other data type. It can even contain complex numbers or whatever. Now this is called a list. Now the difference between a list and a tuple are two types. So a list can be edited once it's made. For instance, if I want to add an element to the end of this list, all I need to do is type a.append and enter something. So I say bde print a. As you can see, it has added bde to the end. So in the case of lists, you can append to an already made list. So here we are updating the list which has been made earlier with this element. Now let's come to tuple. Tuples are also like lists, but they can't be edited. They are immutable objects. For instance, let's say now this is a tuple. Now I'm going to try to edit it. I'm trying to add one element at the end of the list. this is going to return an error as tuple is an immutable list, so this can't be edited. So let's try it out. As you can see, we have got an error which says tuple object has no attribute append, which implies this a tuple cannot be edited. So that's the main difference between a list and a tuple. So now let's start with our final sequence type, that's a range. So in case of a range, we are not specifying all the elements, we are just giving them a start and an end count. So it can be any number between those two. So for instance, I'll give a variable called x and I'll say range 6. Now I'm going to print it. Let's look at what it returns. As you can see, we have specified a range from 0 and ending at 6. So which means the elements in this list are 1, no, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Remember 6 won't be in this range as 6 is the end number. So it consists of all the numbers except for 6. So from 0 till 5. So that's what the range function is used for, and it's a data type. Now let's come to mapping type. So we're going to learn dictionary now. DICT stands for dictionaries. So now dictionary is initiated using a curly bracket, as you can see this one. Now in case of dictionary, there's a key and a value. For instance, I'm using a key called A, or I'm going to use a key called 1 colon, and let's say something hyper comma 2 programming. Now the thing here is that in case of dictionary, the key 1 stores this value, the key 2 stores this value. So for instance, you want to print hyper, I can just initiate it this way, print x, and in square brackets I have to mention the key, so 1. As you can see, it prints hyper as the key 1 holds the value hyper. So it's mapping 1 to hyper, 2 to programming. So that's why it's called a mapping type, mapping data type. So now here 1 is the key and this is the value. Now to print the keys, you can use the function called key x.keys. As you can see, it returns 1 and 2 as 1 and 2 are the keys. Now we can use a function called values. Now values would return hyper and programming, as these two are the values in this dictionary. Now dictionaries can also be edited like this thing, lists. Now x dot append, or in case of dictionaries I can use something else. I'll give x3 equals to hello, and let me print the list. Print the dictionary, my bad. Yeah, as you can see, it says 1 hyper 2 programming, and it added 3 hello to my dictionary. So that's all for dictionary. So it maps. Dictionary is a mapping data type. Now let's come to the last one, that's Boolean. Now Boolean data type is basically, it has only two answers, that is true or false. Now it can also print it in terms of zeros and one, where one stands for true and false stands for 0. So now I'll show you how it looks like. So I can give a equals to false, and then I'm going to print a. As you can see, it says false. Now I'll try to print not a. As you can see, it prints true. So basically in this sort of case you have only two options, true or false. So if not true, it's false. So it's used for conditions and all, for like uh, in case of loops and all that, you can use false and true to give it a certain statements to execute. So if it is true, execute these statements. If it's false, execute some other statements. So that's what Boolean operators or Boolean data types are used for. That's it for today, guys. I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you liked it. And please comment your feedback and suggestions below so that I can improve my future videos. Thank you. Bye.